Welcome everyone to Darkest Dungeon 2. I'm very excited to dig into this game. I was a huge fan of Darkest Dungeon 1, played quite a lot of it. Darkest Dungeon is a roguelite dungeon crawler strategy Lovecraftian style game by Red Hook. It is a different style of game than most. It leans very heavily into, like I said, Lovecraftian style horror, but it has roguelike elements to it and a lot of decision making, some great turn-based strategy, and I am excited to see what Darkest Dungeon 2 has to offer. Couple notes before we jump into it. First being, this is going to be a different style of video than my normal. Normally I take video recordings from live streams that I've done or just games that I've played with friends, Hunt Showdown being all of it so far. And I usually cut those up and post them as compilation videos or separate game videos, things like that. This is going to be a Let's Play. It's live recording of me playing the game. I want it to be a first impressions, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case. I've already played about an hour of this game because the first time I tried to record it, it did not work. I had some audio issues and I'm having to record it again. So I know the basics of the game. I won't be reading through the tutorial like I did in my first recording, but I will go over the mechanics and what I know and look at the tooltips if needed or if I need to refresh any of the mechanics, because there's quite a few of them. Second thing, I don't know how long these videos are going to be. When I did the first recording, it was like 30-minute episodes. So, and my normal episodes or videos are like 10 minutes. So I'm going to try and play around with the time and kind of see based off of feedback of you guys and the viewers if you want longer videos or shorter videos, but we'll try it out and see where we need to go from there. All right, there is a quick intro video. I'm not going to talk during it so you can enjoy it, but let's go ahead and jump right into Darkest Dungeon 2.
Ruin has found you at last. My protege, my friend. Our calculations were correct. The ephemeral equation is unbalanced. The Earth spins on a strange and terrifying new axis. And everywhere, unbridled consequence. The world is a wasteland of failures past. And yet, you must ride out into it, unafraid. Take this. It is hope, the very last of it. It is yours now. You were bold once. Be bold once more. Free yourself from this suffocating stillness. Fix your gaze on the horizon. And face the fearsome truth of the Darkest Dungeon. Indistinct and ill-lighted. No comfort awaits you here.
So that was a brief introduction to the game. As you can see, as I mentioned, the Lovecraftian horror style influence is quite heavy in this game. It's part of what I liked about the first one. It's just dark and gritty, and I expect nothing less. And from what I've seen, it very much has that feel in this in the Darkest Dungeon 2 as the first one. This is the only screen I've seen for this so far. I believe these are different chapters, and this is the only one I've ever played or I've ever seen so far. Denial. Now, something else to note, this game is technically still early access. I don't know how much is in the game currently. I don't know how much they're going to add, what they're going to change. Things will change. I don't know how much, and as they change, I will try my best to bring them up through the videos when they happen. I also don't know how, like I said, how much content's in this, so I don't know how long I'm going to be playing this, but if it's anything like the first one, we're probably going to do quite a few videos on this, because there is that roguelike element to it, and we'll see where it goes from there. All right, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into our first chapter, first run, Denial.
The shackles of denial must be destroyed.
Sorry, I was taking some tea. All right, this is our stagecoach. It is our main means of transportation. Something very distinctive. Well, that's not the right word. In Darkest Dungeon 1, it is a grid-based system. You go into a dungeon, it's a grid-based paths that lead to different rooms, and the rooms are different things. It can be a treasure room with loot, it can be a battle, it can be a trapped room or whatever. In this game, and then your party like walks along the grid to the different rooms. In this game, it's all based on the stagecoach. You go through a linear pathway. I can't show you it. Oh, here we go. I can. This is the tutorial, or the valley, I guess. It's a single path. You just go from point A to point B. In the actual areas, there's three, from the ones I've seen so far at least, there's 3 separate paths that you can choose, and they have different nodes where you can, like, there may be 2 or 3 different points of interest to choose from, but this is where our start is. Our flame is our main source of light, which does different things. If it's above, I think it's 40%, you get that 20% enemy battle advantage chance, so that you'll surprise the enemy. It can get lower, where she'll buff the enemies and give you negative quirks, or the light can get higher, which I think does the reverse. You may have a higher battle advantage chance and things like that. If the flame hits 0, which is pretty important, it triggers a cultist fight. The cultists are, or I guess a cultist encounter, which is, it's a fight essentially. The cultists are nasty. I fought them a couple times in my first playthrough, and they wiped one of my parties. It was brutal. So it's something that you do have to keep an eye out for. If you want to fight them, awesome, you can do it easily. You can't manually snuff out the flame, so you know, you can't really do that, but you can make choices to not increase the flame level to help trigger that cultist encounter. I guess you'd want to do that if you want to get the loot from it. Dum, dum.
The crossroads, a beacon for the broken and the battered.
All right, and this is where we get our party members, our 4 heroes that will make up and consist our party. So, a couple things to look at. First, we're going to look at, well, we're just going to look at the 4 different ones that we have available to us right now. We have the Man-at-Arms, a beefy brawler with a nice spike club and a shield. He's kind of a melee support. He defends other party members and boosts his block and things like that. We have a Highwayman, which is kind of standard both melee and range DPS. We have our Grave Robber, which is kind of similar, DPS, both melee and range. And then we have our Plague Doctor, which is a support for the most part. She's going to be our only one that has a heal to start off with, but she also throws out poison, noxious gas that causes blight to enemies, and she also has a wicked knife that she slashes with, so a lot of versatility with all of them. Something I really liked about the first game was that you had a large pool of heroes. Eventually, to start off, you don't have as many, but you have a large pool of heroes, a roster of heroes that you can swap out and do different runs with. One of the things I liked most about that and the style and how you managed your heroes was you could name them. You can name them after people, you know, friends and things like that, which I really enjoyed doing because I felt like it added more personality to them. You had a stronger connection to the character. So when or if they died, or when you were making choices, it meant more. It felt like it meant more. And I really liked that. In this game, I don't know how similar that is. because you have these other heroes that are locked behind your profile level. So I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see if that is the same or similar to the first one. But for right now, I'm just going to use randomly generated names for the most part. I might name some after other people, subscribers, viewers, or friends. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see.
Pride. More devastating than the horrors of 100 campaigns.
Each hero has 5, you can set to have 5 active skills. They have 11 skills to choose from. The first 5 are unlocked for you. The other ones you have to unlock through the game and through different runs, and I'll show you that when it comes up. Each hero also has a positive and negative quirk, which is random. The symbol, the yellow or gold is the positive, the blue is the negative. The symbol you see here, the little star looking symbol, means that it is a rare, it's a unique, either positive or negative. This one's positive, but the negatives can also be unique. They also can be very vague in their description, like this one, obsessed with death and what lies beyond this mortal coil. Not entirely sure what that does. We'll have to wait and see. This one's pretty, not self-explanatory, but it has the details of exactly what it does. It has some flavor text there too, it looks like, but party HP. So if the party HP is less than or equal to 25% at the start of turn, there's a 15% chance that you'll get either of those or both of them. 15% chance to get vulnerability, which means he takes more damage, or 15%, excuse me, and or 15% chance to get that sword symbol, the sword with the down kind of arrow, which I think it's weakened is what it's technically called. It means you do less damage for one turn, or for one attack. Alright, now our Highwayman also has a unique positive. That's awesome. This one's great. At the start of a round, wait, there's not a percent chance he just gets it. Wait, really? That's really good. Round start, he loses 1 stress, which is huge. I'll go into stress a little bit more once we get into the run, but that's really good. A book burner, I'm assuming in the first game there was, what were they called? Points of interest? I think is what they're technically called, but there's different things that you can run into through the dungeon, which one of them was a pile of books or scrolls and things like that, which do different things. The pile of books, I think you usually didn't want to react or interact with them at all because they cause negative things to your heroes. The scrolls were great. The scrolls, if you burned them, if you used a torch to burn them, would remove a random negative quirk on that hero, which were great. Book burner, I'm not sure how that's going to apply, but one of the negative quirks would cause the hero to interact with books
Hunted
on their own accord. So if you ran into a bookshelf and you didn't want to have any of the heroes read it and have something negative happen to them, they would do it automatically. So it was really nasty.
Avarice slips unseen into the catacombs of the mind.
So these are both rare perks, or rare quirks, excuse me. Positive one is if you're less than 50% HP, at the start of a round, there's a 25% chance you'll lose 1 stress, which is great. This one, if you're on fire, if they're burning, they have minus 4% crit, which is pretty bad. And if they're on fire, at the start of a round, destroy 1 positive token. That's really bad. That one's really bad. And then our Plague Doctor.
Science stains the surgeon's hands.
I don't know what this one does. Let's knock 1 back and enjoy what life has to offer. Okay. Vicious. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. It's got a negative. It's both negative and possibly a positive. So this character has plus 10% damage. They just have it. When they attack, gain on attack. So I don't know if they have to hit their target or if just when they attack. They have a 25% chance to get the gold crossed swords, which I believe is like a damage buff or they have a 15% chance to get the blue heart, which is vulnerability, which means for their next hit that they take more damage. So the Plague Doctor will take, I think it's 50%, but I'll have to check on the percentage, but they will take more damage. So, kind of nasty. Skills are all set, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, let's go ahead. So, something briefly, there's 4 positions on each side. There's the 4 positions of our hero, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And our heroes are spread out into each position. Each one has a different position that they're best in, but we'll go over that in a second. And then the enemies have 4 positions, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each skill can be used in a different position of our party. For example, this one the Plague Doctor can use a Noxious Blast in position 2, 3, and 4, but not 1. So the circle that's hollowed out, that means that they cannot use it in that position. When they use it, they can hit the red positions. So in the enemy line, they can hit position 1, 1, and 2, but not 3 and 4. This one is a little bit different. So that one's kind of like a front line. They can hit the front line of the enemy. This one, they can hit the back line of the enemy. This isn't an attack. It's a ranged ability that can blind enemies. And the red circles that have the line through it means it will hit both of the back positions. It will hit 3 and 4. For like our melee, he wants to be up front, more personal position. So you can use this skill in position 1 or 2, and he can hit positions 1, 2, and 3. So that's a brief overview of the positions and how they can come into play. Actually, they play a huge role in combat. And choosing where to put your heroes will really depend on what skills they have. It shows you kind of a basic overview of what position they would favor based off the skills that they have equipped. So if like I unlock these skills and these 2 they can only be used in the 4th position, this will change. The larger the circle, that means the more favored position it is. This will change. This one will get smaller and this one will get bigger because he wants to be in the back. But really we don't have to worry about that right now. It's kind of the basic setup for positions. All right, let's venture into the valley. This starts our run.
This was a beautiful place once. What a pity.
We've already looked at the map. For right now, it's just a straight line. So I'll show you the map when we get to the actual, the next area, because it has more details and it's more of what you'll see in a normal run. All right, we got some loot to start us off. Cash. Go ahead and grab some items.
Scavenge what you can and be off once more.
So, first 2 things we have are combat items. They are items that can be used by the heroes as a free action at the start of their turn to do different things. This one's a buff. It adds 1 strength and 5 speed for 2 rounds to a hero. This one is a combat item that's more of an attack. It targets 1 enemy and blinds them for 2 turns, or gives them 2 tokens of blind. So, okay. I was going to wait to combat to go over this, but I'll just go over it briefly because this item kind of brings it up. Tokens. So there's a huge difference between where that says plus 5 speed for 2 rounds and 2 tokens. 2 tokens means that the enemy will get 2 tokens of blind. The blind token means for their next attack, they have a 50% chance to miss. So if they have 2 tokens, their next 2 attacks have 50% chance to miss. You can also remove tokens, so there's like buffs that say remove 1 negative token. So say hypothetically an enemy threw a smoke bomb at one of our heroes, and our hero had 2 tokens of blindness. They can use an item to remove 1 token of blindness, so that just means 1 of their attacks, so their next attack will be 50% off. Hopefully that makes sense. It will make more sense when we actually use it in combat. Then there's in items. They can only be used in, and they do different things. Like this one, it removes 3 stress, pretty basic. This one, plus bleed resist until next in, so they get a bleed resist bonus. So they're resistant to bleed damage, or excuse me, they're resistant to the bleed status until they make it to the next in. Then we have trinkets, which are passive. They're items that give passive buffs to our heroes. I'll show you that in a second. the coach upgrade, which our coach has for right now 1 upgrade slot, which you can equip when you get to an inn. So I'll show you that when we get to our inn and we get some currency. Good. Let's open up that. Let's go over the trinkets real quick. Let's actually assign, so you get 1 combat item slot. We're gonna go ahead and assign that to, let's give you the stimulant, the buff, and then we'll give you the smoke bomb. For our trinket, it's +5 move resist. Actually, is that move resist? It's right here. No, it's debuff resist. I think I'm gonna give it to you. 25, yeah. He already has, oh, he had 20 as well. Who had 30? Oh, you just have a higher debuff resistance. Cool. That's excellent. Something... Well, yeah, I won't go over it yet. We'll get to our next encounter and I'll go over it.
I remember our first meeting on the steps of the university. A collegial handshake that would doom us both.
It would doom us both. Combat items are very strong, and like I said, they're free actions, so you want to remember to use them, which I'm really bad at. Alright, we ran into some commoners that need some help. I'm going to go ahead and close the tutorials here. So this is an encounter. In this encounter, these people are asking for help. Your heroes have opinions on what to do, whether it's, in this example, whether it's to help them or not help them. In this tutorial, all 3 of them want to help. And you can see if you hover over them, they give a basic comment of what they want to do. But on the bottom, on the left-hand side, will show you what they want to do. Or what you'll get from their choice, I should say. In this case, helping them will get you food and +50 to your flame. All 3 of these guys want to do the same thing, but you see the yellow hue, the gold hue around the grave robber, and the gold hue around the plague doctor. That means those 2 heroes agree with our highwayman's decision. Same thing if I choose plague doctor, the highwayman and the grave robber agree with the plague doctor's decision, and the highwayman obviously as well. Now, a couple things. One, if I choose the highwayman, or excuse me, she's the grave robber. I always get the highwayman and the grave robber mixed up. If we choose the grave robber's decision, the relationship with the grave robber and the plague doctor, and the relationship with the grave robber and the highwayman will be raised. They will become friendlier with each other. There's 6 levels of friendliness, and I'll show you that once we get back to the stagecoach, where I can actually show you the relationship between all of them. But for right now, I think we're gonna go ahead and choose. Now, the other thing about this, if you choose, in this instance, if I choose the grave robber, the relationship between the plague doctor and the highwayman, these 2 will not be raised. It's only with the one that you choose. So the plague doctor and the grave robber and the the highwayman, those 2 relationships will be increased. Let's do that. We'll go ahead and select that one.
In crisis,
+50 flame,
gain is insignificant.
and we got some slime, which is an in item that heals you. I think looking at the relationship grid will make a little bit more sense. So this is the relationship grid. There's 6 pips or 6 nodes, 6 levels of relationship. Since I chose the grave robber, her relationship with our highwayman and our plague doctor raised by 2. Once you reach 6 of positive relationship, their relationship will be tested in a positive way. So for example, on my first run, it was the grave robber. The grave robber and the highwayman, or excuse me, the grave robber and the man-at-arms, they reached 6, and the relationship was tested, and they became respectful for each other. That means they would do random positive things for each other. Like if one of them attacked an enemy, the other one would encourage them and say, hey, great attack, or you know, whatever. They have some dialogue, some like flavor text between each other. But essentially it was like, hey, nice shot. And they would, I think in that instance, one of them removed a point of stress from the other one. they'll also like buff each other randomly. It's great. It's very, very good, very, very strong, and helps the party. The other side of that is they can lose relationship or friendliness. So if they get blue pips, that means they have a negative relationship with each other. If they get 6 blue pips, their relationship will be tested in a negative way. And in another instance on my first run, the Grave Robber and the Plague Doctor had their relationship tested negatively, and they became hateful towards each other, which they would constantly mock each other, which would cause them stress. So, one of them would do something and the other one would be like, why did you do that? That was terrible, or you're terrible, or whatever. And the other one would get a point of stress damage. Now, that brings me to the stress damage. There's a lot of information in this. I apologize if it's overloading, but I'm trying to be as brief and succinct as possible, and it will come up frequently. So if you don't understand anything, seeing it in action might make more sense. So just bear with me if you don't understand it, or if my explanation doesn't make sense right away. Each hero has 10 points of stress. It's kind of like their HP. So let's start with their HP. Their HP is their health level. If the HP reaches 0, they go to what's called Death's Door. I'll get to that later once we get into combat, but that's the basics of it. HP, as they take damage, it lowers to 0. The stress level is another meter that's very, very important, and I would say maybe even more important than their health. Stress can be caused by a number of different things. Enemies can do stress damage. The heroes can randomly get stressed. So like as you're going down the road in your stagecoach, one of them might just get stressed out a little bit. Just be like, why are we here? This is terrible. We're gonna die, or things like that, and they gain a point of stress damage. If they reach 10 points, if a hero reaches 10 points of stress, a couple things can happen and a couple things will happen. They will lose relationship levels with the other heroes. So in my experience, they get 3 points of negative relationship, so 3 pips of blue negative friendship with everyone. Like it will be all 3. Sometimes it's just 2. Sometimes I think in one instance it was one of them, but usually it's all of them. They will also sometimes do things on their own volition. So they may pass their turn. They may just be like too stressed out and be like, nope, not doing anything. So they pass their turn. Sometimes they refuse to do something particular. Like, you say buff yourself and they're like, nope, I'm gonna attack this guy instead. So it's really bad. With also another thing about the negative relationship, if they get negative relationship with each other, sometimes they refuse to do things like when my Plague Doctor had a negative relationship with the Grave Robber when they were hateful towards each other, I went to use I tried to use the Plague Doctor to heal the Grave Robber, and she refused. She was like, nope, not healing her. So it's something you have to keep track of. You have to manage. Stress level can get out of control very quickly and can be a detriment to a run. Absolutely. I don't know how much this is all based off of my 1 hour of gameplay in this Darkest Dungeon 2 and my many, many, many hours of Darkest Dungeon 1. So it might be a little bit different. So what I'm saying is the majority of my knowledge is coming from Darkest Dungeon 1. So it might be a little bit different in Darkest Dungeon 2. That's something that we will learn together. But I think that's enough explanation for now. Let's go ahead and continue on. I don't know. So if we look at our map, I think our next encounter is, so we're going across the old bridge. Oh, so something to note, these yellow lines are safe roads. You don't get battle encounters. I don't know if it's guaranteed that you won't get a battle encounter or if it's just less likely, but these blue dotted or broken lines are high chances of combat.
Comforts are exhausted.
There's the bridge. We're gonna go ahead and go across. So in this section, it's very likely that we're gonna get a fight. This being a tutorial level, spoilers, there's a fight. It's right there. Whenever you see an obstacle in the road, from my experience so far, this is a fight.
You see, even your valley is not immune.
And it's a fight. Oh, an extra mob too. When I first played through, it was just these two lost souls. You can see their name in the bottom right-hand corner. Lost Souls is the name of the unit. Right below their portrait, Gaunt is the enemy type, I guess would be the best way to put it. So like she's also Gaunt, or a skeleton, I guess would be, but she's called the Widow. She has different move sets, and obviously she looks different. So, all right. So to start us off, our first move is going to be with the Plague Doctor. I'm going to go ahead and use a Noxious Blast, which is you can see on the left-hand side, it does 1 to 2 damage, has 5% chance to crit, but it has, the main ability of it is it blights a target. It poisons them, essentially, and they take 4 poison damage per turn for a couple rounds. Now, that is tested. Oh, nice. Okay. It actually shows you when you highlight over the enemy. Oh, okay. Oh, it's because she can't hit them. It actually tells you the percent chance to hit. It's right here. The percent chance to hit, how much damage, and the crit chance. I'm guessing that's factored into everything else. So like if this enemy had a dodge up right now, a dodge token, it would make it, I think it would change the hit percent chance to 50. So you had a 50% chance to hit them or not. But the blight portion is, it will be tested with their blight resistance, which the resistances are right down here. So the one that's highlighted or kind of brought to the forefront, that blight BLGT, and it has the same symbol, they have a base resistance of 40 for their blight, which is pretty high. So this probably isn't going to blight them. It did. Nice. Okay. So if we hover over it, it's going to do 4 points of blight damage for 3 turns. Now, as I was saying about the HP, you can hover over the enemy's HP too, or you can hover over your heroes and it'll show you. But these guys have 13, or this guy has 11 out of 13 max. This guy's fully healed, so he's 13. So you have to bring their health to 0. Now, when any target is brought to 0 HP, if they take anything past that to bring them into the negative, they don't necessarily die immediately. They go to death's door, and they have a death blow resistance. So if you bring an enemy into the negative, they have essentially, if you've ever played D&D, they have a death roll, essentially. There's a chance that they will resist the damage and survive. These guys, so in the bottom right-hand corner right now, you can see that skull where it says in red DTH. That is their death roll. These guys do not have any death roll resistance, so if I bring them to 0, they die. My heroes have death blow resistance. I think they're all 75 unless there's something boosting it. Yeah, these guys are all 75, which is pretty high. And as they take damage, if like say Audrey here was at 0 HP and she took a hit and she had to roll a death blow, if she succeeded, so if she made her resistance and she survived the death blow, then her death blow resistance lowers. So the more they're at death's door and the more they get hit, the more likely they are to die. There's also a very good chance that if she is, so she's got 32 HP, if she gets hit for 34, which is a ton of damage and would only happen in like endgame, but if she takes, she takes one hit and brings her in the negative, even though her death resist is 75, there's a chance that she will die immediately. So there's a lot of risk being at death's door. But enough said. Let's go ahead and attack. We're gonna go ahead and use Pick to the Face. It does 4 to 7 damage, a 10% crit chance, and ignores armor. Ignores block. No one has block right now, so we're just gonna go ahead and attack the first guy. Great crit, 10% or 10 damage crit. I think it was 10% actually as well. All right, so he's gonna take blight damage, which will kill him. Horror is an interesting mechanic, and I'm glad she did that. So he got 1 stress from, I think, the attack. I missed that part. Our man-at-arms got 1 stress because of this horror. Horror is a stress damage over time, I guess is the best way to put it. He will take 1 point of horror damage, or excuse me, he will take 1 stress damage for 2 turns. That 50%, I think, means that it has a 50% chance to proc. So on his next turn, he has 50-50 that he will get 1 point of stress. It's bad. You don't want horror damage, because I mean, like I said earlier, they only have 10 points of stress. 1 point is huge, so you have to keep track of that and monitor it very closely. Because as I said earlier, it can spiral out of control. So normally I would just take a pistol shot. I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're going to use Duelist Advance, which is a lunge. It is a melee skill. You target any of these three, which will give him, it will move him forward 1 and give him riposte for 2 turns, which is a counterattack. So let's go ahead and use it. Did 3 points of damage to her. He went into a riposte stance. The poison damage, blight damage, death blow, or killed him. So now if anyone attacks him, excuse me, let me rephrase it. The next 2 times he gets attacked, he will counterattack. So if someone hits him, he will hit them back. When someone dies, there's a corpse. These guys are tombstones because they're like skeletons. There's a theme going, which will block that position for either a certain amount of turns, or there are some abilities and some items that can clear corpses. So the corpse is in position 1, which means these 2 positions are in the same spot. They didn't move. If I either clear the corpse, it also has 7 HP, so if I do 7 damage to the corpse, it will disappear. It'll get destroyed permanently. The position 1 will become available, and everyone will slide forward. So, just a mechanic that comes up occasionally. I'm going to use the throwing dagger to hopefully I need to do 4 damage. The dagger does 3 to 5, so hopefully we get a good roll. We did. Excellent. We actually got it exactly. Let's go ahead and do a Noxious Blast again and hopefully blight up our last lasso here. Okay, so yeah, her negative quirk actually procced. She had when she attacks, she has a 15% chance to get a positive or negative token. She got a positive token, so she rolled on the 50% chance to get a strength token, which means her next attack will get a bonus 50% damage. That's pretty good, but it comes with the downside of you can also get a 15% chance to get a vulnerability token. I think I'm going to use... Actually, there's really no point. I was going to use Hold the Line. Well, just so you can see it. It's also a move ability. I'm going to attack him, and he's going to move our man-at-arms to the first position. Lovely. I really like the animation. I like the idle animations. They're very cool. But I like the attack animations, how it like zooms in and the movement's very exaggerated. It looks very satisfying to me. So we got a little bit of currency, got some slime mold for some food. Excellent.
Are you shaken?
No.
There is so much worse in store.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Here's hoping. All right, let's continue down the road. Running into these leaves along the way. And here's our inn, our first inn. It's a high quality inn. A Motel 8, if you will.
The Roaring Heart does much for the weary body.
Excellent.
Even more, perhaps, for the restless soul.
All right, so that's going to be the first portion. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. These episodes, as I said in the beginning, I don't know how long I want the episodes to be, but they're going to be longer because that was our first run. Granted, it was the tutorial portion, so there was a lot of explaining, which I think will make this a longer video in general. I'm going to try and make the other videos more bite-sized, but as you see in the next video, you'll get more of a sense of the scale of a run, so, or at least somewhat. But like I said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If so, leave a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. If you have any questions or comments, I would really appreciate you can leave them down below. I'd appreciate the feedback. I'm very interested to see how this does. Like I said, it's a very different style of video for my channel, so I'm very interested to see how you guys feel about it. I'm gonna get your feedback, and hopefully we can continue this and make many more videos of this nature in both Darkest Dungeon 2 and maybe some other games as well. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.